Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Helm developer call on Thursday, April the 11th. This call falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be polite. And as a warning, these meetings are recorded, so if you don't want to be visible, please turn off your camera. Today, looks like we've got a good bunch of people I haven't seen for a while. So, hello again, everyone. And I will share the agenda doc in the chat. Sorry, I'm just navigating screens and windows because I wasn't organized. And we can start with the announcements. So I assume these were you met 3.14.4 is out.
Yep.
And May the 8th for 3.15.
I don't know who added them to the doc, but yeah, that's the dates.
Nice. And then is there anything else to announce? Otherwise, I can move on to discussion.
Not announced, but a question about that announcement. I'm sorry, I don't know this. I feel like I should, but this is not a security fix, right? It's just a patch release?
It's a regular release.
Okay.
Regular patch release. It's got some bug fixes in it. Updated a couple of dependencies that had CVEs in them.
So you'll make people happy with that. It's really a thing at the moment. And it's probably not going to become less of a thing, but yeah.
So the question about that, it's a very quick one. It's because I know I was just catching up on some Helm mailing list stuff. Not that there's a lot to catch up on, but it's very stable. But I know, Matt, you have been posting definitely for security whenever there's a security release, but also sometimes when there's something notable about another release. I was wondering if this is one of those times that we should do that, or if it's just kind of like it's normal.
We should probably post when there's a release anyway. But the truth is, this time I was so distracted with meetings and other things that I'm popping around. So I even forgot to put it into some of the channels because I was jumping between a bunch of things and it just fell through the cracks.
Yeah, can we tag team that? Do you want me to send that info to the list and to the channel?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a quick sorry, I'm trying to take notes and moderate at the same time. Release notifications or Scott's helping notifications. Notes taken. So I have this PR came in the other week. I think it's pretty sort of just a Helm create PR, but it adds HTTP route support. There's probably one outstanding thing on it, which I just saw someone else reviewed it and noticed that it was still referencing like the alpha. You'll see the comments on the PR, but once that gets resolved, I think it would be nice to get this pushed out into Helm 3.15. I was thinking, Matt, is it okay if I put things like this with a particular milestone?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I don't like. You can probably look at the PRs that are associated with the milestone, then whoever's coming to release.
Yeah, and we're terrible with a milestone. A bunch of things need to be cleaned up, pulled out, all of that good stuff. We do have a problem there. Really, we need more second reviewers on some things.
Okay. Yeah. The thought was if I put something like this as a milestone, then it can. I think it's a pretty simple thing. It would be nice for Helm to support because obviously HTTP routes like the gateway API is probably the future of Kubernetes ingress. So if it goes into like the standard stock templating for a Helm chart, then it just takes away that cognitive load or for people to get started.
Yeah.
So getting it in there would be awesome.
Totally.
Alrighty, Scott.
Yes.
Good feedback from the Helm for roadmap KubeCon session. Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So I'm just opening that up right now. Sorry. So the easiest way to share would be, let's see, I think I added the no, I didn't add. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. I added this to the feedback, the items from the feedback to our Helm 4 roadmap doc. Let me just put the link here. Here is the doc, because I think we made that that's public. I actually don't know who owns that even. Maybe I do. Sorry. In any case, I don't know why I'm apologizing. That is, if somebody, would you like me to share my screen?
Yeah, go for it.
I could do that.
While he's doing that, I'll say that just generally for the very last session on a Friday at a conference, it was surprisingly well attended. There's lots of people, lots of interest. I think we had.
Yes, I'll say something similar while Scott's sharing. There's been a lot of people kind of seem to be joining the call, showing interest, and I think it would be good to try and channel that interest in some shape or form. I think you've mentioned something similar, Scott.
I have a whole company that wants to make that their extra 10% time working on Helm.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. So yeah, how to get these people efficiently contributing would be, I think, something to think heavily about.
Yeah. We could actually put that as a follow-up to this agenda item, because there are some details around that. For now, I can just, I'm just going to say, I put this in this doc. That doc is in the yeah, that doc link is in the chat. I put it in the chat for anyone watching this later. It's world readable, and this little list right here, this tiny little list, is the feedback that people had at that talk, and all of that. Anyway, the reason I was balking is I had to re-sign into Google. It just asked me to log in right as I was trying to do that. So, in any case, this is all drawn from this slide from our presentation at KubeCon, and the reason I put it in that doc is because that's fully readable to everyone right now. And while Joe and I were facilitating that conversation, I was typing right on screen as people were talking, and when people had ideas, we would just augment this right on a slide. And so it was very interactive for something that had, for a session that had a slide presentation behind it. It was not one of the big stages with like 500 or 200 people in the audience. There were probably 24 people, I'm going to guess. Joe, what do you think?
I think there's closer to 40, but yeah.
Really? Okay, so maybe more, but something like that, right? So a manageable crowd of folks, and everybody was concerned. Or sorry, everyone, not concerned, wow. Everyone was participating on some level. If they didn't speak, they were like actively listening. So that was, and kind of raising hands and things like that. So like, it was very, very participatory. And so I don't want to go over all these right now because I don't think we have all the time, but just, I just wanted to say it was on that slide. And I pasted this into that last meeting, the March 22nd meeting. We've been doing the every week Helm 4 meetings. So just kind of, read through that. The things that we had already talked about, like probably the biggest idea is slimming down Helm 4. Like Matt and several of us have also discussed this. Not like decided anything yet, but at least there seems to be positive feedback of the idea of saying, hey, listen, there's going to be functional backwards compatibility. Of course, it won't be like it will be a semver break, so it doesn't have to be strict like to the type. or to the command to the letter compatibility that we have now for non-major non-major releases. But the idea is that we won't take away people's functionality. And that was something that, like, Maverina, you really were very good, I think, for us in highlighting that and making sure to keep us on track there, which I really appreciate. And the idea, in short, is that all of that functionality, or like large pieces of additional functionality that we otherwise might not necessarily wish to highlight moving forward in Helm 4, but people still want, would be built as plugins, and there would be a more robust plugin system or some concept of that. And the plugins could have their own release schedule and their own focused maintainership as part of the Helm team. So that way,
or plugins don't even need to be part of the Helm team. I think that's an important thing.
Okay, right.
To highlight is,
right.
The Helm team, we're only going to do so much, and plugins are important that other people can develop them other places, and that's okay. Right? Like the
Good
Kubernetes
point.
project doesn't dictate that they're going to do every controller. Lots of other people do, and that's important because the Kubernetes team couldn't handle that.
Yes, thank you. Totally, exactly, and thanks for correcting that. I think the reason I said the Helm team at first is because I think that's just something yet to be decided, is how much of that functionality that is providing backwards compatibility functionality would we take on ourselves as a promise.
Oh,
to,
yeah. Well, I'm not even sure what we would necessarily rip out at this point. Was that covered in the discussions of what things would not be part of Helm anymore?
I don't think that was the main focus. I think the main focus was what would be in it, and that the idea was was that there could be as slim a functionality set as possible of the core functionality of Helm, while still providing, while still not taking away various use cases people have and different things that might be less relied upon in the community.
And one of the things to think about with the community and the vocal folks is lots of times we get ops people, especially when you go to something like a KubeCon, you get operations people who are there. And many of Helm's users aren't operations people. So we've got to make sure that when we design things, that vocal minority doesn't skew the purpose of a package manager, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people take a package manager and use it as an ops tool. And I always think back to, there's a company I worked at, and we used apt in an entirely, and Debian packages in an entirely non-intuitive way. And our opinion on it should never have affected the opinion how the general audience should use it, but they were vocal in using it in a very crazy way. And so I think, personas and how do you help them solve problems and have outcomes needs to be upfront. And I will always be a proponent of that. But
Cool.
Looking through this list,
Mhm.
I do see, and I do have certain comments on a few of them that I can add context to today.
Mhm.
Like the better templating errors, and people want to know what line. Do you know why we don't do that and offer it?
I do not. No.
Because
this was more like I just wrote the
templating.
line and we sort of moved on.
It's Go templating that handles all of this,
Right,
in the
yeah,
standard
okay.
library of Go. And
Yeah.
so in order to add this, you can't make a change to Helm to do it. You either need to re-implement Go's templating and provide that, or you need to go upstream and provide that capability, because this isn't something that we can inject in there. It's something we've wanted for years. But Joe, you've got something to add
sorry.
here.
I was gonna, thank you.
I got a question about just this general topic of plugins and templating, and I think I heard people say that plugins could do templating assistance. One of the long-term, like probably the most frequent criticism I hear of Helm as a tool and the way it works is that it's taking what is actually structured data and essentially treating it as an unstructured string, and that causes all kinds of weird problems for people down the line because their YAML gets the YAML indenting gets weird and stuff like that. Is it possible in this new, more plugin capable future that somebody could write a plugin that says, okay, Helm's going to do whatever it does, but then when it hands off this template to me, I'm going to treat that template as the structured data that it actually is and allow all this fancy YAML manipulation, knowing that I'm working with structured YAML.
So ask the question this, right? So somebody builds a Helm chart, and then they deliver that Helm chart to somebody else who worked at a different organization in a different company, right? Now they have to go install it. Plugins are they going to have on their system? What tools to go render the chart? really Helm has to know everything or their thing falls over. Even with plugins, then you've got to make sure that in order to install it, you've got to have these plugins on your system. And every system this chart's going to be used, you've got to have certain plugins. Things get finicky, right? So
Just
think
as
of the
food for
user
thought.
experience of passing this around. So really, if you want to do something funny with it, you need to package that in the chart somehow, have Helm be able to access
well-
that for every user to be able to use it.
So let
Or-
me take this back to there was a thing, an issue that I put in way back in the day. This was like Helm 2 days. And I said it would be really cool if I, as a chart consumer, could essentially template on the fly. Essentially, I define my own overlay for the chart that gets applied at chart install time. So I don't need to send anything upstream to add my own features to charts. And there was a lot of discussion about it, and it was kind of out of scope of what Helm 2 or even Helm 3 was doing. But what I'm thinking now is if I, as a user, have a plugin that allows me to do that, then that's almost the best of both worlds. Upstream can focus on what upstream needs to focus on, but I, as an end user, can say, I installed this plugin, that plugin's going to apply this overlay for me when I apply this chart. I'm happy.
So I've got
I
two
agree
comments on.
with
Oh, go ahead.
everything that's been said here. I'm just going to say that we've probably got like 1 or 2 more minutes to discuss this, then we're going to have to move on. But it also might be good to pivot onto how we might discuss this in a more structured format.
Yeah.
Before we get to
I do have one comment to make on that. We have the post renderer in Helm today that you can use to take it. And what it does is it gets that YAML after the chart creates the structure, goes to the post renderer. It can do whatever it wants. Then it hands it back into Helm to go to install or upgrade or whatever. Now, post rendering is a script on your local system. It's not a plugin. And after the first pass of it, we really thought this should be a plugin so it can be easy to distribute, share, do those kinds of things. But nobody's picked that up to do it. And so I think making the post renderer a plugin, because I think, Joe, what you're talking about is solved by the post renderer. It's just not a plugin. It's not an intuitive, easy thing to do.
Right.
The other thing is, as I would say, this is a power user feature, not a standard user feature.
Right.
And so realizing it's a power user feature, not a standard user feature, it needs to be thought of and treated that way in the user experience. But yeah, if you want, in fact, Joe, if you want to contribute the work to make the post renderer a nice plugin system, let's talk. I'd love to see that.
If only I knew Golang.
Golang's pretty easy, I would say.
You know Python?
Yeah.
Eh,
If you know
I can
Python,
debug
you
it.
can learn
I can't sit
Golang.
down and write it.
So
Well, yeah. So I think anyway, that's just a
Yeah.
quick summary, and I agree that
Nice.
a more structured way of going about this is good. We already, in fact, have a process for this, as it turns out. There's a HIP for it. But I know that I think what I hear you saying is like a process for having the conversations that lead up to that. So we do have a meeting that's happening every week, and we can always change that time to accommodate more people if it's like more of our team and other people, I guess, if like say if that time doesn't work for you, Matt, or other people, as often, we can change it.
Yeah, and it's I've been traveling the last several weeks, and so that's why I haven't been able to attend. I should be able to attend this week's.
Cool. Yeah, because there's also some more like I wanted to like chime in. I'm like, no, I gotta hold up. So I think the other piece is the follow-up about the company, who I guess we can like just wait on like naming them and stuff for the moment, but let them. We're going to have a meeting talking with them about it, so we can like really kind of like get the details on like how they would like us to say something about this. But they have 8 engineers that they want to use their 10% time on helping the Helm project however we most need it. So they're not just like, hey, we want to work on the new thing because it's cool. They are willing to help with pull request review, given that that's the thing we said we need the most of, and anything else that we think is a priority. So that's something that we can talk about as a group of maintainers. And if there's any other thing that we want besides PR review.
Do we know their skills? Are they Go developers?
They have well, we're going to find out the details of that, but yes, they said that they're Go developers and they're all like, I don't know like to what extent, to what degree
Yeah.
yet, but
Okay.
but the people that met with us, it was the manager of the team,
Okay.
and and they have a person from their company who like manages the project managers. So
Okay.
they're very interested in helping us in whatever way, if we would like. He actually didn't, they weren't pushing for this at all. I actually said I would love to collaborate if we could find a way that like that works for us all as maintainers to help with some of the PM side of things, because I believe we haven't really had as much of that recently.
Okay. Yeah, if you could send me the details in the background, I'll poke more at who's there and just get a better understanding, and then we can help figure out how to plug them in well.
Yeah.
Just invite Matt to that private channel they created.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, we started.
I'm also happy to assist if someone wants
Cool.
any introductions or things to look at or information, whatever. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Cool. We've got 3 minutes, so I will move to assignments. Does anybody want to do, unless we got a shout out or social media amplification quickly? I'm going to do a shout out to Joe and Scott for leading the session at KubeCon. So it sounds like we've got a lot of good feedback and sounds really positive. So that's awesome.
I was flabbergasted on our first session when I walked into one of the rooms of 250 people and it was full.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been walked
it's
into the wrong room.
intimidating. Yeah, that's good.
That was great.
Shout out to Matt for keeping us on track. Shout out to Joe for helping lead that meeting. That was great. Shout out to oh my God, to you, George, for like continuing to do the things you do in the meantime.
Andy for
Thank you
for making us get slides together.
All right. Keeping things on track here. We got 2 minutes and assignments, probably a minute and a half in assignments.
I should be able to do some PR reviews this week, finally.
Okay.
I cannot be here. I think I'm gonna, hopefully, if the funding goes through, I'll be at Open Source Summit.
One question I want to throw in before I forget it again. The Helm 4 meetings, are they listed in the notes here?
No, let me, they probably are somewhere below, but let me just put it in again right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm willing to moderate next week.
I'll do notes. So I've been doing that for a while.
I can probably issue triage too this week.
I can help with both PR review and issue triage. I like like to get in the train and just find some things to look at.
Sweet.
Awesome. Right. We are right on time. So hopefully I will see most of you tomorrow. We'll join at midday Pacific. That's the time I remember.
Sounds
So
good.
that's correct. Awesome. Thank you. Enjoy the
Thank
rest of the
you.
day.
I'm off to my next meeting. Thanks. Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.